Hey everyone, and welcome into the Reload podcast along with Nathan Gilsleider and Marshall Scott. I'm Justin Southwell, and we are coming to you Sunday night after another loss. We just got back from Lawrence with a loss to the Jayhawks, but there were some positive things to take away, as well as maybe some things where we had regressed in some areas. But Marshall, you got to go to Lawrence, so give us a little bit of a rundown as far as what you experienced whenever you were there.
Yeah, first of all, the stadium is so much nicer. Now, I went on the Sports Animal pregame. I do that every Saturday usually, and I compared it to like the old Kansas Stadium. If you've never been there, it's sort of like if you've been to Lawton and Cameron's football stadium. It sort
Oh
of
yeah,
has like a similar vibe to that, which means it was built a really long time ago. It feels like, but the upgrades, it's still on the east side, I believe. That's still the old stadium, and then the rest of it is the new stadium. And just by looking at like that stark contrast right next to each other is pretty crazy. But yeah, super nice stadium. A press box was nice for what it's worth. And then yeah, the game was exciting for a little bit. It looked like Oklahoma State was sort of going to compete. Some more costly miscues. What a crazy two guys going in motion on a play that it didn't need to be that way.
yeah.
That's rough. Obviously, special teams was just sort of rough all game. Obviously the missed field goals. Kansas has a big return. Gavin Freeman fumbles a kick return. He had a great day outside of that. This game's not Gavin Freeman's fault by any means, but having that fumble start that drive on the 13-yard line coming out of the half, rough day for special teams. But seeing the ball go in the air from one Oklahoma State player to another Oklahoma State player was a nice touch that it felt like it'd been a while.
Frustration. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Like, you felt really frustrated at the Cincinnati game, right? Because you played a really good football team, 3/4 square. Got away from you, yada yada yada. We outplayed Kansas in the first half. I mean, there's really no argument there. Even the KU fan would have to tell you that. For the life of me, I do not understand. Why are you even going to kick the field goal going into the half? What does that do for you? As a resident Dallas Cowboys fan, you are not going to win football games with 3 points with defenses like this. Under no circumstance should this have even been a thought process to go for 3. Regardless, I don't understand how you missed the kick, okay? Because he is a good kicker. So, he snap hooked the first one, which reminds me of my golf game. And then the second one, which quite literally is shorter than an extra point, and you get it blocked. You cannot kick it that low. It is the definition of losing football teams finding ways to lose. And under no circumstance should Coach Meacham have not told the OC, you have 4 plays here. I know he said afterwards they talked it over, and then he said, we need to get the 3 and try to get the momentum. What momentum? You outplayed him. Go score 6. You didn't have Howland in the game. You're bruising tailback. You didn't run Wildcat one time, which they decided to do later with Sessi. It was like, oh, that would have been nice 2 quarters ago. You didn't do anything formationally. And then you have the motion penalty, which that's 3 guys' fault, okay? The guys going in motion, both of them, have to know. You have an older quarterback that has a little bit more head on his shoulders. He doesn't snap the ball until both of them are stopped, okay? He gets it, or he's like, relax, call a timeout, whatever it may be. He's just trying to get the playoff right. So a lot of blame to go around there. But that's like an encapsulation for me of, while these coaches have done a fantastic job and they have been dealt a really poor hand, and, you don't even have coaches pulling on the rope in the same direction right now. They're looking at their own futures. You got kids doing the same thing. So this is not me saying, they're doing a terrible job, but that was so poor for a football team and a university that just needs something. You've got to be aggressive. There's no reason. And what you just did as a football team, they had 3 possessions in the first half. You did everything you wanted to do. You got some stops. You had them pressing You had them, reeling a little bit, not knowing exactly what to do. Your defense was, batting way above their average, doing things that you needed them to do. And then you thought 3 points was the way to go here. I about lost it. Couldn't believe it. I did not agree with that, regardless of the outcome, because threes were not going to win this football game. And then you don't give Howland the rock. Like, I love Fields. I think he is a good college running back. And he's going to be probably really good by the time he's done. But a great college running back or elite runs into the end zone on that first one and doesn't let the arm tackle stop him. I don't even think Trent Howland gets stopped on that. And then you don't even put Howland back there with him, or get Gavin Freeman going in motion to open it up and then run it 3 times. Like, at that point, you had well over a minute. And that to me was like, just in a nutshell, what is going on. And you brought it up, Marshall. Special teams, again, was a nightmare. It's understandable because of everything you've got going on. But you have a bye week and you've got these young kids. Like, no more excuses. Special teams cannot. You definitely have no chance to win a football game right now with the talent level that we're putting on the field if special teams is losing the battle. They are doing that consistently right now. Positive note, Zane Flores moved the ball forward and did some things that by far was his best as a college quarterback. He had a very nice layered throw to Gavin Freeman. I think it was even on that drive as they were going down. I think it was like, he made some really nice throws. The problem is there's not a game changer on that field right now on offense for sure. Like, we can debate Wendell Gregory. I still think he's a year away from being a game changer. He just shows flashes. But when you don't have a game changer at the quarterback position, it puts a lot of pressure on everybody else. And we just don't have those dudes right now. Gavin Freeman, I love everything that he brings from a tenacity, toughness, right? And all the things that he can do. I would love to have him back just to be that kind of guy. But he can't be your best wide receiver if you're going to be a really good football team. And I don't mean that in a negative way, right? Like, you've got to have dudes. And that's the same at the quarterback position. I don't love the way the ball comes out of his hand. There's some things just I don't want to get really negative on the kid. He played really well. He did a good job. The talent level on this football team is just really apparent when you get into these things and you're like, I've got to make 8 plays in a row and somebody's got to make a play for me. And then you watch the other team, and that was just horrific tackling by our defense. I think you said, Marshall, I think PFF noted 15 missed tackles. I feel like that's being light. So many of their big plays started off with a guy being in the right position and just arm tackling his legs and just falling right off. I even think what they brought in that backup quarterback, and then they did that like QB draw, and he did like a little spin move. I think 2 guys knocked each other off of themselves, and then he goes for like 43 yards or something. Like, that was just like a microcosm of what's like efforts there. Kids are in place. Just not enough people making plays. And it's really difficult right now as a fan or an alum or whatever. Like, you're watching and you're just like, there's guys there. They're just, plays are not being made. And so it's like you said, Marshall, it's awesome to see some things going well, especially in the first half. But then everything that could have gone wrong in the second half did. They marched right down in the third quarter. And then, like, that made that decision at the half look that much worse. Because you're like, the defense, you need to stop. You can't come out and let them do that. You got to win the last 4 and the first 4. Like, they always talk about that, like in college basketball and in the NBA, or you take whatever number, but you got to win to the end of the half and the beginning of the third, right? And it's like, you lost both of them. And that was all she wrote. You felt bad for the guys, because I was listening to some on the radio and going back and forth between car and watching it and whatnot. And they were just talking about how fired up the locker room was and how different it was than any point in the year. And guys were really believing. And it was like, bang, bang. Well, that was nice. So I ranted there for a little bit. But there's a lot of good things. Very frustrating in a lot of ways. Didn't understand a lot of it, but we're getting through it.
Well, just imagine, Nathan, how good the locker room felt at halftime based on that performance. How much better it would be if we actually had some good play calling to lead us into the end zone and be up on Kansas at half. Like you mentioned, 3 possessions in the first half, and that was one more than Kansas. It was not typical of a modern college football game where you have that few possessions, but they were able to continue to keep the chains moving, and then we just could not punch into the end zone. I think there was one, our second possession, where it's like 3rd and 20. We're thinking, man, be nice to be able to get one down the middle. Or we had seam routes going. It looked like maybe we were potentially going to be set up for something like that. Decided to run it, which you're in field goal range. But if you're going to run it there, why not try to center it up so that your field goal kicker can come in and have a better chance at making that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That was the first one that I was like, it's 3rd and 19, I think it was. And you run an inside zone. Like, guys, for what? Throw it up and get a PI. Or like you said, a screen. Like they screened us a couple times on 3rd and 8. And it works beautifully, right? Especially if you're a little aggressive. Like, do something. Put it in Fields' hands on a screen. Get some things going here. And it's like you gave up. Like you have the Dallas Cowboys kicker or something back there. Like that should be a chip shot. Like that's still like 48 yards for a college football kicker. That was not nothing. Like go get 10. Go get 15 if you don't get the first down. But you got 2? And you just trot them out there like, 3's a win. Again, 3s are not going to win this football team a game. That's just unfortunately the truth of where we're at. Of either side, the defense has been hit by far the hardest for injuries, or besides Haas, obviously, but the portal and some things like that. The depth, they're gone, especially on the back end. So that's going to crack at some point. And I don't mean that negatively, like you just do. So, hey, held them to 2 possessions. We're doing everything. We're holding on to the football. We're running. We're completing passes. The clock is running. We're not killing ourselves with penalties. You can't kick field goals. And you brought it up. Like that was just like, that was the first one. I was like, we are not doing this right now, are we? Like that's the game plan. We're going to hang with them and kick 3s. Just not going to work.
Yeah. And I don't love the idea of kicking it across your body from the right hash. But anyway, I think we all summarized that pretty well as far as some good things, some bad things. Ultimately, we hung in there for a little while. I think that maybe if we look forward at the next 3 games that we have on the schedule, based on performance, Kansas State, they were down earlier in the year. It looks like they've kind of bounced back to being pretty normal Kansas State kind of team. UCF, they just got blown out by Baylor, but they're about to play their space game, so they're probably going to flip a switch. You just never know. And then Iowa State, typical Iowa State team. But again, this OSU team, that might have been their best chance, honestly, to maybe be able to get some kind of an upset, get a conference win, get some kind of momentum going. But yeah, fall short again. So
I think at least with the offense and the way that it was, able to show a passing game, if they compare that with some of the rushing performances that we've seen of late, and then, defense had been taking steps better. I think that UCF game, I'm not going to pick Oklahoma State to win it because, again, I've watched the last however many games. But if all of those things can like happen at one time for just once, like maybe Oklahoma State's got a shot. West Virginia beats Houston, scores 45 points on Houston. It's like, man, how is parity all over college football except for in Stillwater? It's extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow when you're like, no, they're terrible. And then you're like, they'd probably beat us by 17. Like, you just look around and you're like, oh, boy, like we are that bad. Yeah, it was like I felt like Nostradamus in the first half. I was like, I said this is exactly what we'd have to do in order to win the game, right here. It fell apart. But yeah, no, you're right. It's tough because you look at it, Kansas State lost again, and you don't know how they're going to react because they had kind of like pulled themselves up a little bit, like kind of getting back into the back end of the Big 12 picture. Like if they could have beat Tech, they would have been right there. So you don't know how they're going to respond. They've already had some issues earlier on in the year that were kind of NIL related and guys not buying in and so forth. And then, Iowa State's down pretty bad. They just lost another guy, I think, for the year. And they're down on injuries pretty good. And they've had some guys underperform. And so I think UCF's probably, what do you say, Justin?
Well, Kansas State, 4-5 right now. They have OSU, Utah, and Colorado left on their schedule. So more than likely, they're going to make a bowl, but they have to beat OSU first.
That's right. Yeah, because Utah's rolling.
At Utah, and then they have their senior night against Colorado, who's obviously not good.
A little better than us, but they're pretty terrible. Yeah. At least it's at home for us. Never know.
A positive.
Never know. And I know we don't know yet, but if Haas does play.
If Haas plays, he will look good in white, black, white. I've already thrown out my uniform prediction for that game.
I like that.
Haas he was out there, and in pre-games he was like, he'd like step into a quarterback drill and just like throw some balls and then go back around. But he was moving fine. He was walking around fine. I think it's cool that he still showed up for that. And I don't think he'd have to be there at this point.
No, I was going to bring that up, Marshall. Traveling on the road as an injured player typically doesn't happen unless you are one of the leaders and like they really want you around. And so it's like that's another sign to me that like the kid's still in and wants to play, regardless if he does or whatever else. Like if he was out, like everybody's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just gonna sit out. And I don't think he travels to Lawrence, even if you're not putting on pads. You know what I mean? Like they usually don't do that at all. So I don't know. That meant something to me. So I still do believe it's up in the air, whether it happens or not. But that meant something to me from that standpoint.
The Reload podcast is brought to you by Brewster Consulting Group. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Our processes are manual and inefficient with no documentation. Our data reporting takes forever and isn't accurate. We hear all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for our business. Our projects always run over time and over budget. If so, talk with our friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines with clear processes, reliable data and reporting, and technology that actually works for you. Their team of Six Sigma Black Belts, PMP certified project managers, and seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, Brewster was founded and is run by a proud OSU alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube. Appreciate Brewster as always. Let's dive into that uniform review. Of course, we somewhat nailed the prediction, I think. White, white, white. And we had the brand with the orange numbers, and it looked pretty clean. Not icy, but clean. And the only thing we were really lacking was any stripes on the pants.
Yeah, Kirk in the chamber shared a picture of LD Brown with the throwback with the stripe. And I sort of remember the stripe looking better, but after like he refreshed my memory and showed that, yeah, the stripe is so much better. I'm fully back on the pant stripe. I was never not there, but after it being reinforced in my mind, wow, that certainly does look a lot better. But yeah, I thought it was a good uni day.
There's something else to point out here. That stripe is not the same stripe that's on the shoulder sleeves or what we've seen on the helmet. There's no gap between the orange and the black. So it's still pant stripes, but it's not a uniform pant stripe. And that might bother some people, but I think it looks really good. It's just classic. It's so good.
It was a good look. We talked about it a little bit. Like I'm kind of to the point of wanting to reset the palette a little bit. So I feel like this is a really good classic all white with the brand. You could even go Cowboys cursive, and I don't think you're going too far out there, but I think it's just a really clean, good look. Orange pops, big fan.
I had some other uni related stuff with that. Let me pull it up real quick so I don't misquote it, but it was one of those things where it was like, we see all white pretty regularly, but it's not usually in this kind of format. I was looking at some of the statistics that I had pulled up, the all white combo that we had with orange numbers and the orange brand. You had to go back a little ways. Of course, that one that Kirk shared in the chamber, that game against West Virginia in 2020, that's where we wore those 80s throwbacks. That would have been the last time back in 2020. Before that was in 2012 at OU and then 2011 at Missouri. Because for the longest time, from 2016 through 2022, we had black numbers on the away jerseys, and that was the only option. And then changed the uniforms again, 23, 24, 25. But we haven't seen all white with the orange numbers yet. So kind of surprising in that sense, but glad to see it now.
I can't wait for your book on the history of Oklahoma State uniforms. I'm going to be the first in line to get the autographed copy of that.
That'd be pretty good. The problem with that is I don't know where to stop. I guess it's a continuation.
Don't.
Yeah, there is no stop. It's an ebook. You just keep adding.
Just keep adding to it. 17th edition. That'd be all right. That'd be cool. For now, if you want to see the book online, you can go to @OK State Tracker on Twitter/X, because that's pretty much where everything is documented. So that'll work for now. All right, let's see. We got crossover season upon us because men's CC dominates the Big 12.
Yeah.
No, cross country is XC.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so
give the man a break here. But yeah, massive win.
No. We're running on. Albeit we had an extra hour of sleep, but we're all a little tired, I think. So
yeah, it really just messed us up because I just want to get home as soon as possible on road trips. I don't know. I'm a big, especially like on games type of things. Like I'm going there for the game. I don't really, care to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm trying to get home as soon as possible. I was thinking about Ironmanning it all the way back last night after going up that morning. I've done that before. So, but I was like, no, we've got a hotel in Topeka. So we stayed there. But I was like, all right, I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to use this as an advantage. So I set an alarm for 6:30. We hop right in the car and we get rolling. But then I've just been useless all day because I've been so tired pretty much. So yeah, that didn't play well. Cross country.
No. It's always a flex whenever you can Ironman out of a place like that. So
yeah, in college, we Ironmanned a trip to Waco one season. That was not safe. It was the one that got delayed. That would have been like 15, 16, somewhere in there, 16, 17.
16 when they had the rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wearing all white for that one as well. That was the actual IC Pete. We had the IC logo. So
yeah, we got into North Oklahoma City as the sun was coming up. It was
easy rain, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we got in Oklahoma City as the sun came up that day. Don't recommend Ironmanning a Baylor game in the future.
Don't do that. Yeah. But yeah, men's cross country dominating the Big 12. So
yeah,
about what happened.
Dave Smith is like underrated, probably the best coach on campus. So since 2020, I believe this is their 5th Big 12 title or 4th Big 12 title. They've only missed one. They've only missed the 2024 Big 12 title for the men's cross country. I've never said this guy's name out loud, so this is going to be rough, but Brian Musau, I tried my best. He's from Kenya. He's just like outstanding. He's a junior, and this was the 3rd time that he's won the individual title at the Big 12 cross country meet, so he's done it every year. I'm going to have a chance to 4-peat next year. He's an NCAA champion and different track stuff as well, so big ups to Dave Smith and the Cowboys. They're hosting their regional, and then there will be the NCAA finals, which is in Columbia, Missouri, I think this year. So yeah, awesome job from the men's cross country team. I think the women finished 4th, if I'm not mistaken, and so still pretty solid outing.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Marshall, but I believe every single one of the men's racers finished inside the top 10. Might even been top 7, I believe. But
yeah, so their point scores finished. I've got it right here. Finished 1st, 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 7th.
That's outrageous.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Speaking of incredible, 4 games in like 5 days, basically. Women's basketball, they're going to go all in, all at once. And I think, are all these at Gallagher-Iba as well?
Yes, they are.
Good time to go check out a women's basketball game. Just going to throw that out there because they've got 4 games you can go to this week.
Preseason top 25.
Yeah, so they open on Monday night with New Orleans. Then they play again Wednesday against East Texas A&M. Then they play again Thursday. 2 games, 2 days. Why not, I guess? The host Langston. And then Sunday, I believe it's a doubleheader with the men. They're playing Oral Roberts. And then they're back on the court Tuesday, that next Tuesday, Prairie View A&M, and that next Wednesday against St. John's. So, yeah, while the schedule isn't maybe the toughest thing in terms of teams played, that sounds like a pretty brutal stretch to open the year on with that many games in that short amount of time.
And they all count, right? No exhibitions here, and these are regular season games.
Yep, these are all regular season games. The only exhibition was that Oklahoma Christian one where they went 104-51 or whatever it was.
There we go. And how about the men's basketball team? They also, you mentioned Oral Roberts, so they open with Oral Roberts on Tuesday and then play Texas A&M on Sunday.
Yeah, this is, the Oral Roberts game will be fun more so to just sort of see the new team in an official capacity, I think. Obviously, watching that Auburn scrimmage was a lot of fun, but to see them out there, this is the Connor Dow return game. He's over at Oral Roberts now, so there's a little storyline there. But yeah, that Texas A&M game, I think it'll be a nice sort of early test to sort of see where this basketball team is that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, you brought up some good points there, Marshall. So many years I loved Mike Boynton. Like, he was everything you'd want outside of the wins and losses as a basketball coach. And these type of like the ORUs, like we either lost or we really struggled early in the year on these non-conference games. So I'm really looking for a statement in this first game of like, we have more dudes than you do, and we're going to execute. Like, they need to crush ORU. Needs to be 15 points plus. You need to really get after them. And then I was looking at a college basketball account today, and they were talking about like the top 10 games of this opening week. You got like Kansas, North Carolina. I think you've got Kentucky, Duke, maybe. You've got some really, really good college basketball games. And they had A&M Oklahoma State at number 9. And I was like, ooh, this is fun. Hadn't seen this in a while. So, I mean, it's on Sunday. They've made that general admission. Guys, we've got to get there and support and get GIA going again, because if you're able to beat Texas A&M and get this thing rolling off correctly, you might see something here. And this is, we've got to play our part. So I circled that one early. I was like, man, if I'm able to make it, like, I've got to get there and just go in there and light it up a little bit, because it needs to happen and we can't wait.
Marshall, do you know much about A&M and their basketball team? Are they expected to be pretty good, or maybe around? Where would you expect them to finish, maybe among other SEC teams?
I've got no idea, if I'm honest. It's so hard to keep up with everybody these days.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I'm pulling up the predicted or the preseason poll.
I mean, and let's be fair. What do they even really know with how much people move? Like, you can't get it right.
A&M picked 13th in the preseason poll, so not looking to do obviously great, but I think they made the tournament last year, and that's been a solid program throughout.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe not, but again, nobody knows anything about any team. The college football season has sort of proven that this year with all the movement.
A good one to show up for. That'll be Sunday, November 9th at 1:00. So go to the early church service and then head up to GIA.
Go ahead. I was just looking because I think A&M might have lost their basketball coach, but I was trying to find that.
I think it's the same guy. If they made the tournament last year, I mean,
Buzz Williams,
Bucky McMillan.
Oh, Bucky McMillan. Then that has changed.
Yeah, I remember that because Buzz Williams left and everyone was really surprised.
Oh yeah, he's at Maryland now. Wow.
Yes, right. Yeah, because he doesn't stay very long. He stays like 5 years and he's out of places. And I'm a big fan of Buzz Williams, so that could be one of the reasons why. So, anyways, that's what I was trying to remember. I was like, I knew there was something that happened at A&M, and that was it.
So hard to keep up with them. You know what's easier to keep up with is Cowboy wrestling. And Marshall, you were on it this weekend, even though you were watching some football in Kansas. We had the All-Star Classic going on, and you gave us some stats on that.
Yeah, both Oklahoma State guys, they went into it as the lower ranked guys, Casey Swiderski and Zach Ryder, and both, like, I guess according to those rankings, upset. Nobody really knows, anything about a lot of this as well. But Casey Swiderski picks up a 4-2 win over Lachlan McNeil, who's a 3-time All-American. McNeil was at UNC before this year, transferred to Michigan. Swiderski transferred from Iowa State. He was a All-American 2 years ago. He missed all of last season with an injury. So this is sort of a big, sort of return spot for Swiderski. The fact that he not only was able to hang with Lachlan McNeil, but beat him, I think is, another sort of early notch in the David Taylor was an outstanding hire tally. And then Zach Ryder, he was been known for his strength, and that was on display in his match. He picked up a 14-4 major decision over Maryland's Jackson Smith, who was an All-American, I believe, last year. So yeah, big time. He's in a weight class, Zach Ryder is, of 184. That I think we've talked about this on the pod before, but that was Dustin Plott, Parker Keckeisen, Carter Starachi. All those guys are gone, but it's instantly reloaded with. And I think a performance like that, Zach Ryder sort of now looking around that area with those Angelo Ferraris and with Max McAnally from Minnesota. So yeah, awesome. Sort of non-quasi start. Those don't account on official records, but certainly I imagine it's hard to go light in a wrestling match. I imagine you just compete your tail off the whole time. I don't know what a preseason wrestling match really looks like, but and then so they start the year against Stanford on Friday. I believe it's 6 p.m., 7 p.m., one of those two. Check your local listings. But it's a pretty solid Stanford squad, but this will be a lot about Oklahoma State and sort of, what lineup David Taylor goes with. It feels like it's going to be a season with a lot of young guys, a lot of freshmen, a lot of redshirt freshmen. So, maybe not the same magical end to the season in terms of national champs, or maybe a guy like Zach Ryder can develop that quickly. Maybe a guy like Casey Swiderski is all of a sudden on the national scene. But I think it's a nice building year for the Cowboys moving forward, and not necessarily it's a reload, not a rebuild. But it is quite a bit of young guys. So I'm super excited to watch this wrestling season.
You know why I'm excited, Nate? I shared it with you. Magic Man OSU on Instagram, and it was probably on Twitter as well. But man, David Taylor can fire a guy up. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Standards.
Standards. It's like, we kind of had, I went off on a little baby rant last pod, and I was like, I just feel like we need to talk about our standards. Like, we're not dropping our standards and all this stuff. And then you send me that, and I was like, I should have gone way harder. Like, that is how you talk. Like, I was like, yeah, that's it, But you're right. Hearing that, and it's like, that's a good coach. That's what you do. You push, you become uncomfortable. Like, this is the standard. What other standard is there? Like, I would highly suggest anybody goes and watches it if you need a little motivation, because it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the OSU wrestling's content sphere is really, really good. Obviously the official OSU wrestling account, then the Cowboy RTC's account is really good, and then Stilly Boys has a lot of behind the scenes sort of stuff that they're doing. It's like the best content in terms of they've got 3 different sort of official entities following them around, and it's some of the best content I think that Oklahoma State has around it of any of its teams, I think.
Pretty awesome. All right, let's jump over to some questions in the chamber. Got one here from Brian from the RR, I think this is a great question. Would the Game 9 Pokes have beaten Games 1 through 3 Pokes? So basically, would this team that played against Kansas this past weekend, could that team have beaten what we saw in weeks 1 through 3?
So weeks 1 through 3, healthy. Like, whoever's out there, they'd be considered healthy.
I think no Haas.
Well, then that's not fair.
It happened so quickly, though. I think the Haas team could have beat it. I think a game of no Haas, that team versus this team, I think is pretty competitive. And I think this team might get it. I think defensively, they're a little bit more sound. St. Flor's and the offense all of a sudden can throw the football. But that other team had a lot of, of guys that are now in the portal and things of that nature. So I love that question. I think it's a really good one.
It's a great one. Because if you do have Haas, you also have Ford. You have 4 tight ends, so you're actually able to run 12 personnel. You got a couple, you got a couple guys not in the portal on defense. I'm gonna go games 1 through 3 Pokes win.
Here's maybe another way to phrase this: Gundy versus Meacham.
Oh, Gundy. That's not fair.
Yeah, I think I'd take that as well. Or Grantham versus Bowen.
That hire just looks so bad right now, and it blows my mind. The highest paid defensive coordinator ever at Oklahoma State. He lasted 3 games. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I think Gundy would bore you to death and still beat you.
How about this? OSU's offensive line, week 9 versus OSU's offensive line, weeks 1 through 3. Give the check to it. Game 9, they lock it down, establish a dominant run game. I think they could beat them. I think they could beat them. Like,
certainly could. Yes, that's fair.
That team lost to Tulsa at home.
And let us not forget the Oregon game.
I was trying to forget it, but here we are. I just feel like if you go, albeit it's Kansas, you go on the road, you're still showing fight, you're competitive for a while, you can control the ball, a couple of different play calls, and maybe you're in it. I think, and maybe it's not fair to say for that team that, if you had different play calls or whatever, but I feel like this team, as it is now, could especially beat what we saw in game 2 and 3. Toss up for game 1, maybe.
Yeah, it's the game 1 that gives me pause as well. But within that though, it was UT Martin at the end of the day, who is turned out to not even really be that good of an FCS team this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
No, they're terrible.
So there you go. Great question though. Keep them coming. OSU Wildman, he's got 2 questions here. So question number 1, what are the chances we can keep Clint Bowen on staff next year? I'm going to pause there. We'll circle back to question 2. So chances we can keep Clint Bowen on staff.
I mean, can or will, I think, are probably 2 pretty distinctive things we got to get here, because can, I think it's very high probability. He came in as an analyst. I don't think, it's like exactly clamoring for his coaching in other areas. So I don't know how many opportunities he has. I love a lot of things that he says. Doesn't exactly show up on the field, and his track record, if you go back to some of the worst Kansas teams where Coach Meacham and Bowen were both at.
Yeah.
There's so many things I like about the guy, just from the little bit that I've gotten to know him from watching him interview and talk and coach. And I think you could keep him on in some role if you really wanted to. I'll put it at that.
Guess it just depends on how well he can work with Jim Knowles. That's not anything. I'm not saying anything.
Are you guaranteeing, Justin?
No, I'm not.
Can we clip this? Justin Southwell guarantees? No.
I can guarantee you I'm asking question number 2 here in a minute.
All right. That's fair.
Which is, what decorations did your wife put up for Christmas, Marshall?
Yes, so I got home to my wife opens the door. There are Christmas decorations. It's November 2nd. There are Christmas decorations in our house. So it used to be like she didn't really get that into the Christmas spirit. And then we bought a house, and now she's like, I can decorate, and then has just done that. So yeah, I love being in the Christmas spirit. I'm going to start watching Elf, pretty regularly here in a couple of weeks, but it was maybe a little concerning. There was Halloween candy in a Christmas shaped bowl. It's just like, what's going on here? Thanksgiving hasn't even happened yet. So, but yeah, the tree's not up. It's more so just like little stuff she puts on the table and things of that nature, little signage around the house. I very much appreciate it, but I was shocked to say the least, considering it's November 2nd. Well, what do you guys stand on when to put up a Christmas tree and when to start decorating?
Okay. The blatant disrespect for Thanksgiving has got to stop.
It's become my favorite holiday.
Here we go.
This is unbelievable. I mean, you get together with your family and friends, eating as much as you possibly can. Fantastic food. Football's on the TV. I mean, it's just a beautiful day. And now we're trying to skip over it. And, it just grinds my gears that we are trying. I mean, geez, I can't. Yeah, this is a sticking point in my house, as you can tell. And it really, really grinds my gears. We got to stop it. This is a movement that's gone too far. Hobby Lobby's 2 months ahead of it, selling everything. I mean, it's wrong. It makes me want to puke.
Wow. Christmas makes you want to puke. Unbelievable. Okay. That's what I took from that. Here's the way I feel about this. I used to have that same kind of mentality, Nathan, and it was a sticking point for me. But you know what I realized? The older I get, the more I enjoy Christmas and Christmas time. So while it is a little preposterous to go from orange and black on 10/31 to green and red on 11/1, not quite there yet. But what I understand is November 1st through the end of the year is Christmas. And then Thanksgiving gets its full week, or at least, 2 or 3 days there. And everything else around it is Christmas. And I'm okay with that. But I will say, if I put up decorations a little bit before Thanksgiving, I'm only doing that because of the weather, because I don't want to be out there on top of the roof in mid-December. But I'm not going to start listening to Christmas music until after Thanksgiving Day. So I will say that it's too early.
When's the tree go up?
Snip, snap, snip, snap. You can't do this. You got to pick a side.
I can do whatever I want. When does the tree go up? The tree goes up.
I don't mind having the tree at Thanksgiving, if that makes sense. I don't mind it being a nice, like, hey, this is the kickoff to now it's Christmas time, having it there.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the mood. Like, how well do we play against Texas A&M on that Sunday? Do we come home and then put the tree up that night because we're feeling so good? Probably. But if we lose, then I'm like, we're not doing this right now. It's going to put me in the holiday spirit.
It's fine. You do you. So I have to tell my wife, I'm not putting it up. If you want to put it up, my work week starts the day after Thanksgiving. If you want anything else up, it's on you.
You guys put Christmas lights up on your house?
Yeah, I do.
So we didn't last year. That would have been our first Christmas in the house, but we're going to this year. Our front yard's like a hill, so I'm gonna have to figure that out, so I don't die. But the plan is to this year. It'll be our first time in a house doing such a thing.
Good. That's good. That's a good tradition.
This is my first year with more of the custom lights. So I've always had the big box store lights that you just unravel and put up cheap, whatever. I decided to up my game a little bit now. It's my father of two. I need to make this magical. So let's go. I'm thinking red, white, green, white for the different patterns.
Okay, not to get too far off, but did you make the custom lights yourself, or are you going to have somebody do them and then pattern them yourself? Because you can go to the store and do it all yourself.
No, I'm going to order all this.
You want to get some real hair coming out of your chest and
ordering stuff and putting it together myself.
Okay.
I'm going to do the vampire plugs and everything.
See, look at you. You got the name for them. All right. I'm
going big box. I'm just going to go big box.
I'm back in. Because I last year I looked into it and I got a little intimidated on trying to build my own setup.
Nah, you got this.
So I stood with my big box that is like, it's kind of starting to fade a little bit. It's not looking great. Some of them are kind of broken a little bit. So I'm like, got to make a transition here soon. So do I go big box again, or do I do full custom and do red, green, white, something like that? I don't know.
In some ways, us having this Christmas discussion on November 2nd might have upped Nathan's light game this holiday season.
You're good. My kids might thank you because they were pretty disappointed in my effort last year. So I need to step it up.
Now's the time to start planning. All right. Well, stick with us and we'll continue on. We'll let the listeners know how our Christmas light journey has gone up. And if you have any suggestions, we're clearly doing this on our own for the first time. Drop some suggestions in the comments below because we need some expert advice here. We've got two more questions in the chamber. So Cray Stallion asks, unbiased opinion, with the SEC jobs open, is OSU in the top 7 open spots? Got some openings here. So Auburn, LSU, Florida, Penn State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Stanford, and Oregon State.
I think OSU is clearly in that top 7.
And you can add Maryland as of tonight, which is kind of shocking.
Wild.
I think Baylor should too, but I'm not gonna force anybody else to jump in this pool because it's getting a little little crowded. I don't know. I think of it more of like in a tiers list, and then it's kind of what's your flavor, what's your fit. Because when you look at Auburn, don't get me wrong, it's a better job than Oklahoma State, just from resources, where you're at, SEC money, yada yada yada. But they are. I want to go back and make sure I find this. So I want to get the numbers correctly. As of right now, they are paying 4 head coaches in the last 7 years to not coach them anymore, a total of $52.5 million.
That's wild.
I wish somebody would accidentally give me one of those million one time.
That's what I'm saying. There's nothing better than being a fired football coach. So I think when you look at it, let's just say, I'll just bring him up just because he's a hot name right now on the OSU boards. Let's say Alex Golesh. While Auburn may be a better job, just from if you're looking at it, everything, the stability that comes at a place like Oklahoma State, comparatively speaking, when you have a young family, and the money from a coach to coach standpoint is not going to be that much different of what Oklahoma State's going to pay their coach than what Auburn pays their coach. Now, NIL, things like that, obviously it's going to be a little bit different, but I think you have a better opportunity to win at Oklahoma State and then get into the playoff and, hit those big incentive boosts and bonuses and things like that. And so it's like there's an argument to be made that depending on the fit, a coach could very easily say, I'm going to stay here because I have a better chance of staying here for 7 to 10 years than maybe 3 at Auburn if I don't beat Alabama twice and I'm out. You're competing and you're doing these things in the same pool, and Auburn, just outside of cheating to get Cam Newton and Gene Chizik falling into a national championship, they've just been pretty below average since Bo Jackson. They had one little good run with Tommy Tuberville, but other than that, they really aren't very good.
So in that same kind of vein, Nathan, I have to wonder, I ask you this. If people are evaluating from the outside looking in at the Oklahoma State job, and they only see the success that OSU has had recently, and you could easily chalk that up to just being it was Mike Gundy and his sustained success over time, does that put us back at square one? Or is it that he built it up for so long that we can sustain success? It's just that we don't have the right pieces in place right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. And I think when you're looking at it, that is really one of the big selling points, which when you've heard Mr. Weiberg, Chad Weiberg, talk about it, he kind of hinting at basically you'd be surprised at how many people are interested in this job. And I think one of the reasons why is because the package and things that he's able to sell of the commitment from the university and those around it, and the consistency and the ability for you to choose your GM and how you want to do these things, right? So I think that's a full package. But if you want to, you obviously can say the same thing. But before Gundy got there, Les Miles beaten OU twice in 3 years, and and Pat Jones at least had some pretty good football teams, even though he was cheating, just like Barry Switzer was. But don't get me started on this. So you can say the same thing, but for me, a little bit biased, but I think in all reality, like I said, if you go into tiers, I personally think LSU's in a tier above. Everybody besides Coach Kelly has won a national championship in the last 19 years there. They've got the talent on their doorstep. They've got everything you want. Obviously, they're very volatile right now. They just fired their AD. Things are looking pretty bad. Still the best job. Penn State, Florida, Auburn. I even think Penn State and Florida is probably tier 2. I think Auburn is tier 3, probably just above. And I think you have Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, maybe UCLA and Maryland, because Maryland's got Big Ten money now. Kind of right there. And then you have Stanford. Stanford's kind of weird, but Oregon State's down there. So yeah, I think they're right there. So I think if you go to that tier 3-ish list, it's just going to depend on fit. So yes, to answer the question in a roundabout way, I do believe it is a top 7 And I don't think that you're going to be, again, we talked about this, while you may be ranked behind some of those, Auburn, Auburn, they're terrible at hiring coaches. So they're definitely going to be fishing in a different pond than we are. Penn State probably doing the same thing. I think Oklahoma State and Virginia Tech, we're probably swimming more in the same area. But I don't know. It doesn't really bother me as of yet until you kind of start seeing how the dominoes fall.
Yeah, I liked how you broke those tiers down. I think Auburn, I think there's a world where a coach might find Oklahoma State a better job than Auburn. Like you mentioned, the stability, playing in the Big 12, maybe a easier path to the playoffs. But I like those tiers for sure. I think Oklahoma State is a top 5 job still on the market. It just sort of gets to, whenever you get to that tier below Auburn that Nathan mentioned, it's just sort of more personal preferences, coach by coach at that point, I think.
Personal preferences, and it really is all subjective. And the people that are writing the articles who make the lists of the best jobs, they probably have agendas. So just think about it critically, but at the same time, subjective. So, but for that question, 100% in the top 7. Last one here from Pokes2135. Golish, Morris, or Zach?
I have no idea. So, this is hard. I have been, like I've mentioned, drug into the Morris camp by Nathan Gilsleider. But Zach is still Zach still has that tug at the heartstrings for me. Like, if you could tell me that they all work out, I would want it to be Zach, but that's obviously not the game that's playing. So I think I sort of really love Morris and just the ability to identify a quarterback. Maybe all these coaches can do that, but I've just been so scared away by some of the quarterback play that we've sort of witnessed over the last couple of years that I would sort of love to see a guy that guaranteed knows what he's doing at that position. And all of those guys could, but Morris has just been so good at it. So if I had to pick, I'd be happy with any of those guys. But if I had to pick, I think weirdly I'd pick Morris right now.
My man. That's what I'm talking about. So it's funny. I didn't want to blow Marshall up with another Morris thing, but I sent Justin. I sent Justin one because last week I was like, the one knock on Morris is I just don't know if he has the ability to just turn around and run the rock in these type of games. And then you watch the Navy game and you look at the stats, and they had a running back go for 33 carries, 197 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And I was like, he's been listening. Coach Morris has been listening to our pod. He knows exactly what I need. But no, all jokes aside, any 3 of those, I would be absolutely elated. Golish has actually really grown on me lately. I was actually, he was there in 08, 09 whenever I was there as a GA on the defensive side with Coach Beckman as a GA. But, he's done some awesome things, has a great resume. But for me, from a standpoint of what's going to get us better faster and where we need to get to, Coach Eric Morris would be my first choice, but I would be elated with any of them.
Interesting. I guess I'll go Zach by default. I've probably made it known already. The group of 6 coaches are lower on my list. I just ranked them a little bit lower. Not as proven, in my opinion. It's probably unfair, but until you come up and prove it, so many coaches have, then I'm not ready for you to come to Oklahoma State. So I'm
okay. Hold on.
Zach.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna split this. G6 head coach or P4 assistant coach. Which one?
Coordinator. Yeah.
Which one would you prefer?
P4 OC. Like Klein or Stein or whatever.
You'd prefer that over somebody that's built and done more with less.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing, just because like Kirby Smart never was a coach, and he's won a natty, and Dabo Sweeney never was a head coach. He won a natty, and
Dan Lanning
is well on his way to hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of seeing it at this level, and maybe I'm burnt a little bit by seeing Nardo come up and not doing well, and I'm scarred by that, and I'm unfairly
that's less than
putting that.
G6 though. That's like
It is, but it's also you see with other coaches that are coming up from other rankings and just like Fickle at Wisconsin, for example. But you can turn around and say, well, Signetti coming from James Madison to Indiana, so it's all about the fit. And honestly, a G6 coach could probably do really well at Oklahoma State. But I think if we want to legitimately compete at the highest level, we need to pick somebody from the highest level. We're always talking about how Oklahoma State has the money to go out and get pretty much whatever coach we want. At least that's the idea. And then if that's the case, why would you settle for somebody that's G6? It's the mindset that I'm going in with that. And it's like versus somebody that has NFL experience and somebody that's developed and has worked with these quarterbacks. I can't remember the last time we had like good quarterback development. So, it's like, yes, it can be brought up, but what's the ramp up time? We don't have a lot of time to work with. It's maybe a little bit more of a risk, I feel like, to go that route. So that's why I would lean towards Zach. But ultimately, when it comes down to whoever we hire, I'm going to be all on board. I'm going to convince myself that this is all good. So, I'm just stating my opinion for what it's worth.
Who would you guys consider the best coach in the Big 12?
Whittingham.
Yeah. What was Whittingham doing before he was
Whittingham.
Utah's coach?
I also like Sataki.
Wasn't he there? Did you think Shiitake? Was Whittingham there with Urban Meyer? Was he straight over?
Yes. He's been at Utah
So
since
was he
1994.
So he's Utah's DC, I think, for Urban, if I remember correctly.
Urban Meyer, what a guy.
Great dude.
Kalani Sitake was hired as Oregon State's DC. And then Matt Campbell, who I thought you guys were going to say, was hired from Toledo.
Not a Matt Campbell guy.
No.
He's a good coach, though. But not a Matt Campbell guy.
Well, let me go. Kenny Dillingham is probably my answer. I was thinking about that. Going back through the list.
He just hasn't done enough yet.
He hasn't yet, but the foundation's there. The attitude's there.
Okay, how about this? If you could pick one coach to steal in the Big 12, who would you pick?
Deion Sanders. I'm just kidding.
I think it might be Dillingham. I think Dillingham might be the one to steal.
I think that's my choice for sure. I would for sure. He's crazy. He's got a screw loose. He's clearly overworking himself, but he is performing really well. I mean, that win last week with not a very good quarterback, after losing their really good quarterback, I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, I'm just going through the list to make sure I'm not missing anybody, but I think I'm just going to go with my gut on that. Yeah, it's Dillingham.
Dillingham was Oregon's OC, so that checks out with your theory of wanting an OC or a coordinator.
If we went with Oregon's OC currently, I'd be all right with that.
Hey, all that to say is I fully trust that Weiberg will hire for the right reasons. Like even if it does end up being Zach, which I don't know, I'm not reporting anything, but from things it seems kind of be cooling off maybe a little bit, kind of like what you read and just some things I'm being told. So if it is or isn't Zach, it's going to be purely because he's the best guy for the job.
Yeah. And
he's got a plan in place, not because he was a quarterback here for 4 years and he was, beloved. Some people kind of get wrapped up in that. Like if he went to a different school, wouldn't even be a choice. I'm like, if he went to a different school and you said 7 years of NFL experience, current OC, played in the NFL for 5 years, started a quarterback camp in Texas, worked for PFF, you'd be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. So that goes both ways. So, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and Chad sort of earned the right for us to all trust him with his hires so far. J.C. Hoyt has the Cowgirls ranked preseason. David Taylor has instantly, gotten Oklahoma State back on the map. Steve Lutz, it's year 2, and there's all the, still basketball to be played, but there's, a lot of positivity going into the season. So, yeah, that whenever we keep saying we're going to trust Chad on this one, that's sort of why he's got this track record so far of, he hadn't been in the job long and has hired well. This is obviously going to be the hire that makes or breaks him. But
yeah, and I think I don't know if it can be open. We said this before, and I've heard Carson and Colby talk about this too. It cannot be overstated the importance of getting this right for the entire university.
It's like, yeah,
not just football, which obviously it is huge for football, but you're talking about the entire university. Like this, if you get this wrong and we continue doing what we're doing, we are going to be Missouri State in 7 years. And that's not good for the entire university.
Scary thought.
And like, you can't miss. And so if you guys think that he doesn't understand that, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, if anybody thinks that like he's just going to do this to appease a few donors and you want old quarterback to come back and finish a nice story, it is way too important to just do that because you want to win the press conference on day one. It's about the next 5 to 7 years, not the next 6 weeks.
So I know you guys challenged me a little bit on it with Zach, but the biggest thing I think that's holding up just not going for it and hiring Zach right now is the lack of college coaching experience. Maybe that's the case that these G6 coaches do have college coaching experience, and that's why this is still an ongoing discussion because we're weighing all this stuff out.
I think absolutely. I mean, I think when you look, you can pick apart anybody. That's why I think fit is so big, because it's like you've seen so many guys. But in
that case, it's hard to not imagine that Zach is the fit.
It's fair, but I mean, like, I could have told you Brian Kelly wasn't going to work at LSU. Like, that was never going to work, especially when it came out there and like, hey y'all, welcome to Louisiana. Like, come on, dude. You're from the Midwest.
It's so bad.
You already lost me. But
if he was really dedicated, he would have only spoken French that first press conference.
Yeah, right. Little Creole. Baton Rouge, Coach O, there and go. That's what you gotta do. But anyways, sidetrack. But
would you take Coach O at Oklahoma State
as my defensive line coach? Not my head coach. I guess, well, with no more recruiting violations, I may take a coach out. but it's just so much about fit. We've talked about this so many times, whether it's Colin Klein, whether it's Golish, whether it's Zach, Eric Morris. I don't know. You hear this James Madison coach who's killing it, or Silverfield or whoever it may be. Everyone's hearing the same group of names. I don't care. You talk to anybody you got inside knowledge, or you read an article or whatever it may be, all about the same core names. And it's just all going to be about fit and making sure that everybody within our organization, and by our, I mean Oklahoma State, is pulling the rope in the same direction. It has to be done. And that's one of the reasons why we're so far behind right now, because that was not the case.
Good deal. Well, appreciate those questions from the chamber. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, you can sign up for PFP Plus, and you can also get access to the chamber and ask those questions. Whatever's on your mind, throw it out there. We'll do our best to answer it. We'll have a link for you in the description so that you can get 25% off. If you share, drop a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, that helps the channel grow, obviously. So thank you for that, guys. Appreciate you being here. Keep those pistols firing, and remember to reload. Go Pokes.